Yo guys, what's up? It's your boy Xazer, going to be showing you guys how to use pallets in the game of Dead by Daylight. But in order to find out how to use pallets, first you got to see how you do not use a pallet. So a big mistake I see a lot of players is they stop and they wait at a pallet for the killer to get close and then throw it on their face. It looks a little bit something like this. Alright, so you see we got about 4.9 seconds of killer's time wasted there. That's not good, and you wasted that pallet on the map. Let's see what happens if you run through that pallet and try and do a couple loops around and see how much of the killer's time we can waste doing that. Alright, so you see we wasted about 8.8 seconds of the killer's time. That's an extra 3 seconds as to just waiting on that pallet. But what happens if we're in a healthy state and we take a hit from the killer and continue to run around the same loop? Okay, wow, 32.5 seconds is a long time. That is a very, very good use of that pallet. Now, I would say not every single killer is going to sit there and just chase you around a loop. Sometimes killers will mind game you a little bit and try and double back on themselves. So let's take a look at this clip I have of that and see how much of the killer's time we can waste if we accurately double back and don't take the hit. All right, cool. Wow, 17.2 seconds. That's not bad. But your mileage will vary if you have a killer who likes to double back. I've gone against baby killers who double back over and over and over again, and you can basically waste the entire killer's time there. I've also had some really high level players who are very good at doubling back and can moonwalk and trick me, so be careful with the doubling back strategy. If you're not confident with it, just go ahead and throw the pallet when you feel necessary and go to the next one. Now that brings me into my next point. After you throw the pallet, what do you do with the pallet? Well, that all depends on what the killer is going to do. So if you have a baby killer who doesn't break the pallet, there's a couple different things you can do. So let's go into a clip of what you can do after a pallet is thrown down. All right, cool. So about 18 seconds. And you have to remember those 18 seconds are added on however much of the killer's time you wasted before you actually threw the pallet as well. So that's just a free extra 18 seconds if they decide to chase you around a down pallet. Now, you can basically do that infinitely. I stopped after just a couple runs around. The only thing stopping you from infinitely running is the bloodlust stacks. If a killer chases a survivor for a certain amount of time, they start to gradually get faster, and eventually they will catch you. So you can waste a lot of time building up those bloodlust stacks and just taking the hit and running away, or you could take the hit and stay around the same pallet. There's a lot of different options to you that as you're a more advanced survivor, you can start playing with those and feeling out what is right for the killer you're playing against. Now, there are killers who like to double back on a down pallet and try and trick you into jumping over the pallet into their arms, but if you can accurately read those predictions, you can waste even more time. So let's take a look at a clip like that. right, cool. That was almost 22 seconds added on top of however long it took you to throw the pallet down in the first place. A lot of baby killers will double back over and over and over again, and you can pretty much waste all of their time there. I've 5-gen'd a couple times on a single pallet if they keep doubling back like that, and it's a bad player. Now, a good killer will know to break the pallet, and you're thinking to yourself, well, if they break the pallet, what am I supposed to do? That's easy. Get as far away from the pallet that they're breaking as you can, and try and find your next loop to loop around. Now, sometimes killers will fake breaking a pallet, and you want to make sure that they start the animation. So let's take a look at a clip of my reaction to a killer breaking the pallet. All right, no timer even necessary for that one. You saw as he broke the pallet, as he went into that animation, I tried to get as far away from that pallet as possible, and that animation gave me some space to work with, and I was looking for my next loop. Luckily, I had a pallet right there next to me that I could play around again, and you got to see me play around that naturally. That's just how I'd react in that situation, and that was how Meow was actively trying to kill me. So what ended up happening there is she was one of those killers that likes to double back. You notice I didn't stay and wait at the next pallet. I used it to its full potential. I could have used it even longer if I tried to mind game her more. You saw at the end of that I waited, but I felt comfortable waiting at the pallet. I felt safe waiting at that pallet because I had already doubled back a couple times on that pallet. That's not a very good loop, and I want to talk about what's a good loop and what's not a good loop. So the loop that you've been seeing all these clips on in this map is a good loop because it's got that long wall where I can see the killer. This is an ideal loop, okay? I can see the killer's reactions and where they're going, and it's long enough to where I can react to it and still have a grace period. That other loop that you just saw me run away from at the end there, where I was playing with Meow a little bit on those bushes, is a okay loop. It's not great because I can't see the killer and I had to react based off of their red stain. That's a more advanced tactic. We can get into that stuff in another video, but I just want you guys to know that that loop isn't as safe as the first one that I've been doing all these clips at. And there's even worse loops on this map. This is the Temple of Purgation map. I've got a clip of a really, really bad loop that I'm sure a lot of you guys will fall into the trap of playing around this palette. This is, if you see a loop like this that I'm about to show you, just throw it and get away from it, okay? You don't even have to throw it. If you don't think it's safe, just stay away from this pallet. This is a false safety pallet. Do not go near this thing. Check this out. Alright, you guys saw how embarrassing that was. That is a really bad pallet. That is in the bottom of the Temple of Purgation. I'm sure a couple of you recognized it. But basically any pallet with a short itty-bitty wall next to it like that is a bad pallet to loop at. There's quite a few different ones, and you'll be able to recognize them as you get better at looping killers. But those are pallets you want to throw to try and stun the killer if they're right on your tail, or you're just going to take the hit there. Now, in that situation, what I would recommend doing is if you have a health state, if you're fully healed, just take the hit and use that speed boost and the recovery time of the killer to get away from that pallet and find a different loop. Find another window, just anything else you can work with. But I hope this has been helpful. I hope this has convinced you guys to stop waiting at pallets and throwing them as soon as the killer gets close. This kills me on the inside every time I see somebody in my lobby doing this. And if I play killer, I love it when people do this because as a killer, I want pallets to be off the map. So the more you throw pallets, the happier I am. Even if you killer stun me, it doesn't bother me because then I can get rid of that obstacle in my way and it makes me happy to be able to chase you to the next pallet and you throw that in my face again and then I get rid of that one. So I hope this has been an eye-opening experience for some newer players, and I know if you're more of a medium or advanced player, you're looking at this video like, well, duh, this is super obvious. This is just basic stuff. Exactly, this is basic stuff, but not everyone knows this yet, so I'm trying to spread the word. If you'd like to see a more advanced tutorial on how to use pallets or mind gaming killers or how to react to stains or how to react to moonwalks, I can do that in a later video, a different video. Also, if you wanted to see how to use windows appropriately, I can also do another video of that. Just let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see videos like that. I wouldn't mind making that. I think that'd be pretty fun. But thanks for checking this out, guys. I hope this has helped somebody, anybody. And if I see anybody else throw pallets or wait at pallets and throw them in the killer's face in my games, I'm just going to link them to this video. I'm so tired of it. You guys got to learn not to waste pallets. It's liquid gold. It's not liquid gold. It's pallet gold on the Rift, okay? We need those pallets. That is our safety. So please don't waste them. Bye, guys.